Hi, I'm David Smith and I'm going to talk to you today about the GoPro Hero 2 adventure camera and particularly its underwater uses. But first I want to take you back in time to the days of 16mm film. This is my old 16mm Bolex camera which I used for all sorts of purposes but particularly for underwater filming. It wasn't ideal, I have to say. First of all, it had no sound. Secondly, you only get 3 minutes of film out of each roll, so you have to, at the end of each 3 minutes, take the back off, pop the roll out, put a new roll of film in the dark, in a black bag, reassemble it, put it back, and off you go, back underwater for your next 3 minutes of filming. Well, it was a pretty arduous process, as you can imagine. Even so, it did let me get some pretty interesting shots from time to time, one of which I'll show you now, a little sequence that was filmed for a documentary called Edge of the Abyss, all shot on 16mm film. And here's a shot of the ship that we're on, and here's a shot of an Isaac's Kidd mid-water trawl net. And I wanted to get shots to show how this net deployed underwater when it was being towed through the water at night. And so what I did was get towed behind a fishing trawler, and these are the shots of the Isaac's Kidd going over the side, down under the water, and then I swam in Port Phillip Bay near Melbourne, being towed behind a fishing trawler, and got these shots, as you can see, with the net looking rather graceful and rather large underwater. It's one of the most dangerous things I've ever done, because in fact I couldn't have a safety diver too close to me because he would appear in the shot. So I had to do it pretty much on my own. You can see it's a pretty wide angle lens, and so we're getting a nice wide shot of the tail end of the net. And I even got some shots from inside the net, actually swimming back inside the net, where the current got quite strong. And of course the trawler could only go at its minimum speed, which was about half a knot. And half a knot is about enough to just about pull your face mask off. So it was a pretty hairy adventure, but nonetheless the shots were great. And here's a shot from inside the net, just swimming gradually forwards, and you can see the mouth of the net there and the cables attaching it to the boat. Okay, that's one way of filming underwater. Not very satisfactory. 3 minutes per roll, back on deck, get the film out very carefully, dry everything, put the film back in, load the camera properly, check it, check the batteries, put the housing back together, and check that it doesn't leak. And then I came across this little remarkable beast, which, as you can see, is only a fraction of the size of the Bolex. It's only the same size as the motor of the Bolex on the side there. And this is the Hero 2 camera produced by GoPro. And this is a minor miracle. This camera actually runs for something like between 2 and 4 hours, depending on the memory card that you use. It uses a standard SD high capacity card up to 32 gigabytes, which will give you about 4 hours of filming. It comes with an underwater housing like this, and you just pop it into the little housing, clip up the back like so, and you've got a tiny underwater camera that's an absolute miracle. I discovered on my first dive with this, which was down at Western Port Bay near Melbourne, that surface shots with this housing, the standard housing, are extremely sharp. But I noticed that when I went underwater, the shot became slightly blurry. So I sent a message off to GoPro and very rapidly got a response from their help service. And they told me that you'd actually need a flat front. It's the curved front, which you can see reflecting in the light there. The curved front makes it go slightly soft focus underwater. So I sent off to GoPro, and for $100 I got this new housing, which, as you can see, is flat fronted. This standard housing has this curved front, and the new one has a flat front, which I think I can get to reflect in the lights there, and you can see how it's just a standard flat piece of glass. They're both tested to 200 feet or 60 metres, and when I first tried this one out, it was immediately clear that the picture underwater is fantastic. So here's some shots that I took on my very first excursion under the Flinders Pier, which is well known for children jumping in the water. For scuba divers underwater, and also for its large and rather curious stingrays. So with this tiny miracle camera, the GoPro Hero 2, I'm able to work underwater continuously for up to 2 hours, 4 hours with an extra battery pack and a large memory stick. It records audio, and you can send the camera down. Obviously a diver can't easily go to 60 metres, but you can send the camera down to 60 metres if you like, and get truly amazing shots, provided there's sufficient light. There are 3 zoom factors possible, which you select in the menu. So it can be as wide as the widest on a normal stills camera, that's about 18 millimeters equivalent. Then it can go out to about twice that, or ultimately it can go out to almost 180 degrees, about 170 degrees wide, which is a true fisheye, which is really very useful for filming in its other roles, such as in sports situations such as parachuting, skydiving, surfing, and riding trail bikes and so on. So you can dial up the correct focal length out of the 3 options available, and it doesn't do this digitally, so you actually get a razor sharp picture at each of those focal lengths. It's yeah, not like a digital zoom on a video camera that can pixelate the image the more you zoom. The time-lapse mode is fantastic. You can choose any one of a number of settings, from 1 shot per second to about 1 shot per hour, and just leave the camera sit there, and it takes full 11 megapixel stills at the predetermined interval until either the battery runs out or the memory stick is full. But you get a marvellous device for taking time-lapse photos. You can also take 10 sequential stills, 10 11 megapixel stills in 1 second, and that's sensational, because you can, if you're going for a particular point of, say, a sports scene or anything really that is a fast action sequence, just shoot around that moment and you'll get 10 chances to get the magic shot, and this really works. And you can see how easy it is to get just the right shot that you want by choosing one of the 10. So when you think that my Bolex camera would take 3 minutes per roll of film, and it would cost me about $200 to buy that film and to have it processed before I could even see it. The housing would cost about $150 a day to rent, and if you're shooting a documentary, you go through quite a lot of rolls of film at this rate, an incredibly time-consuming and energy-consuming process. And so after a day's diving and filming with a camera like this one, it's exhausting. After a day's filming with a camera like this one, it's just all smiles. You know, I came out of my first day filming under the Flinders Pier with those marvellous shots of stingrays, shots of scuba divers under the pier, beautiful shots of marine life on the poles of the pier and so on, and little rock pools. Absolutely magnificent. And I just came back not exhausted, but very, very happy. I love this little camera.